Hey there, I'm Simon Spalding and welcome to Simon's Cinema. I hope everybody out there had a great Thanksgiving. I know I sure did, but let's get back to some movie reviews. Now we're closing in on that time of the year when I try to see as many movies as I can before my big end of the year video which I have planned, and A Ghost Story was on that list of movies I told myself I needed to see before the end of the year, and I just watched it last night, so here's a rental review. So, A Ghost Story is directed by David Lowery and stars Casey Affleck, fresh off his Best Actor win for Manchester by the Sea, along with Rooney Mara. And this is a very unconventional movie about a husband who dies, and we follow the deceased Casey Affleck for most of the movie as he looks like a children's Halloween costume version of a ghost. But this movie really explores some very deep things, like the tragedy of loss, what people go through after losing a loved one, what's the meaning of life, is there a meaning of life? And as I'm describing this, I realize that it sounds really weird coming out of my mouth, but this movie actually really hit me hard on an emotional level. The best way I would describe this movie is that it's one of the most enjoyably depressing films I've ever seen, if that makes any sense. Now, the reason I say that it's enjoyably depressing is obviously when I say it's depressing, I mean it's sad. It's one of the saddest movies I've ever seen. But the filmmaking is so unique because it uses visuals to tell the vast majority of its story, and there's a bunch of periods of time over this movie where there's absolutely no dialogue for up to 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. There's literally a 4-minute long shot of Rooney Mara just eating a pie in this movie, and it's probably the most heartbreaking scene in the entire film. And this form of visual storytelling was so refreshing to me because it's been so long since I saw a movie like this that basically used visuals to tell the entirety of its story and develop its characters. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can definitely make a good movie that's dialogue heavy. I mean, Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors, and his movies are extremely dialogue heavy, but the dialogue is so well written and so well delivered that you don't even care. But when you really stop and think about it, movies are a visual medium, so shouldn't that mean that you should take advantage of the visual aspect of it to tell your story? And that's something that a lot of movies have forgotten how to do. The cinematography is excellent here. It's all shot on 4x3 with rounded edges, and I noticed that right away, and I just loved it. David Lowery clearly had a message with this movie. He was clearly passionate about making this movie the way he envisioned it, and I just love seeing unique visions like this play out on screen. Beyond the technical aspect, this movie is extremely well acted. Casey Affleck deserves all the praise that he can get for this movie because he somehow managed to give an emotionally powerful performance while spending most of the movie under a sheet. I'm not even sure how that's possible, but he did it. There were a couple things about certain ways that things were presented that I didn't really like, but those are kind of nitpicky. They don't really affect the overall experience of the film. However, the one big problem I had with this movie was there was one scene in particular that stuck out like a fly in a glass of milk that was very dialogue heavy. I mean, it was good dialogue, but it basically felt like this character was looking at the camera and going, "Hey audience, here's what the movie's supposed to be about. Did you get what the movie's supposed to be about? Well, I'm gonna drill it right into your brain to make sure you don't forget." And I was like, yeah, I kinda already saw that, but thanks. Other than that, I really don't have any other complaints about this movie. I really, really enjoyed it, but I know that this isn't a movie for everyone. There are definitely going to be a lot of people out there who think that this movie is just pretentious, which I could understand. I've definitely felt that way after watching really artsy movies. And there are probably going to be people who say, like, this was the most boring movie I've ever seen. And I could understand that too from some degrees, but as someone who watches a lot of movies and who really appreciates the filmmaking process, it was so refreshing to see something this unique that really used a different way of getting to your emotions and pulling on your heartstrings. I just loved it. I loved the unique vision behind this movie. So for those reasons, I'm gonna give A Ghost Story a 9.1 out of 10. I think this movie is really underappreciated, so if you get the chance, watch it. That's it for this review. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like it. Tell me your thoughts on A Ghost Story down there if you've seen it already. Thanks and have a great day.